Hello, Reds fans. Welcome to the YNWA Transfer News Channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for your daily latest news.
Arne Slot explains what people forget about Liverpool transfers with $100 million claim quite rare. Liverpool head coach Arne Slot has dismissed any suggestions of a change in transfer strategy from his side this summer, insisting that the Reds have spent similar amounts on players in the past if adjusted for inflation. In full context, Liverpool has brought in almost as much as it has splashed out on new signings in the 3 windows that Slot has been at the helm for. And he says it was necessary to go as big as Liverpool has this summer because of several factors. There is a big difference between Liverpool and Feyenoord, Slot said on the Men in Blazers podcast. The difference is that at Feyenoord there is a level above. There is no level above Liverpool, so at a club like Feyenoord, the players who perform really well make the next step in their career. They either go to the Premier League or to La Liga, or somewhere else. At a club like Liverpool, it is quite normal that players stay where they are. But I think people tend to forget at the moment. You mentioned $300 million spent, but people are forgetting how much money we brought in not only this summer, but also last summer. Last summer, we had a big plus. We earned more than we spent. This summer, people also forget that we have lost Caoimhin Kelleher, Jarell Quansah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez. And the biggest tragedy of all was that Diogo Jota passed away. So many of them have played a lot of minutes for us that it is normal that we also need to spend. We have spent big compared to last season, but if you balance it up, what we did this summer and what we made last summer, then I think the balance is maybe almost equal. That is something that is quite rare in the Premier League. Normally teams only spend and never sell. While Liverpool has spent around $300 million already this summer, it has brought back around half of that in player sales. Alexander Isak arriving could change those figures again, but Slot says there is a reason for being prepared to pay big fees. I think it is almost impossible to bring a player in who is good enough to play for us for a small amount of money, he explained. Every player that is playing for us and won the league with us is worth around $100 million or more. You want competition for these players, then you almost always have to spend, unless you find a player that no one ever saw and all of a sudden, you can buy him for $30 million and he is good enough. But that isn't going to happen every single time, so if we want to improve the team and bring players in that are good enough to play for us, then spending this amount is normal. It is also what this club did in the past with Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk. If you add inflation, you come to the numbers that we have just paid for Florian Wirtz, for example. Ryan Gravenberch, Liverpool's suspension explained after Crystal Palace red card loophole emerges. Liverpool midfielder Ryan Gravenberch will be available to feature against Crystal Palace on Sunday afternoon in the Community Shield despite picking up a red card ban in the final match of last season. The Dutchman had his Premier League title celebrations slightly soured in May when he was shown a straight red card for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. At the time, the Reds were 1-0 down and Gravenberch's decision to bring down Daichi Kamada was ultimately justified late on as Mohamed Salah equalized to ensure the points were shared. Coincidentally, in Liverpool's first competitive match of the season, they will take on Palace in the Community Shield at Wembley Stadium. Due to this being a competitive fixture, many have questioned whether Gravenberch will be able to feature for Liverpool today, or whether he will be serving a suspension. It has since been confirmed by the club that the 23-year-old can face Palace due to a loophole in the suspension rules. As the red card was picked up in the Premier League, the ban will be served in that competition. This is not always the case, though. For more serious offences, the FA does have the right to extend the ban across all domestic competitions, but that action has not been taken in this instance. While Gravenberch can feature today, the ban does run over into the new Premier League season, which starts on Friday, August 15th, at home to AFC Bournemouth. Arne Slot will not be able to pick the midfielder for that game, but Gravenberch will be available for selection once again on Monday, August 25th, in what could be a heated fixture against Newcastle United. Both clubs are currently embroiled in a transfer saga surrounding Alexander Isak. Newcastle makes transfer inquiry for $108 million Alexander Isak replacement after Eddie Howe hint. Liverpool has already seen one offer knocked back for Alexander Isak this summer, but it was always likely that a replacement would need to be found before Newcastle United would let its main man leave. Even then, there is no guarantee that the northeast side will relent, but it makes sense that Newcastle would want to have something sorted before Isac goes. As more updates are awaited, however, things have not been going well for the Magpies in the market up to now. Newcastle tabled an offer for Benjamin Sesko, the former RB Leipzig forward, but the Slovenian was unveiled as a new Manchester United player on Saturday. It has also missed out on others, including João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, and Brian Buemo. Now, the Magpies been quoted as much as $108 million for the FC Porto striker Samu Agahoa this summer, according to the Daily Mail's Craig Hope. That would be too much for Eddie Howe's side, but Brentford's Jon Wissa is a more attainable target. Newcastle would free up money, of course, if it decided to cash in on Alexander Isak. So far, its stance has not softened, though Howe did admit this weekend that things are not entirely in his control. "I don't think it's that straightforward, otherwise we'd have done that a long time ago," he said when asked if Newcastle had already told Isak that he simply wouldn't be allowed to leave. "I don't think we're in a position to do that currently." Isak does still have 3 years left on his contract at St. James Park, but Newcastle would need to convince the player of its trajectory for him to stay. Moving to Liverpool would position him much closer to winning major silverware. The biggest thing they have to do is, somehow, sort the Isak situation out, Newcastle legend Alan Shearer told Betfair this week. "And if they can't get anyone in, I guess that means he isn't going anywhere." Eddie will have to be at his persuasive best to try and turn Isak's head around, because it has been turned in terms of him wanting to go to Liverpool. On the proviso that he does want to go and Eddie can't turn his head, then you get the money. But prior to that, you have to get people in to replace him. Why can't Newcastle get business done? I don't know whether it's to do with the fact they don't have a chief executive or sporting director. They've known for months now that the chief executive was leaving, so I'm pretty surprised that one hasn't been announced as yet. The sporting director has been gone a couple of months now, and they've known that, so it's a big surprise that those spaces haven't been filled. Whether that has anything to do with Newcastle's lack of business and the number of players that have said no to them, I don't know. It's not a good look. David Moyes makes admission about Everton's new stadium after opening game defeat. David Moyes admits Everton's new Hill Dickinson Stadium does feel like home, but it will take a bit of getting used to. After they lost in their final preseason game, the Toffees issued an emotional goodbye to Goodison Park last season and have moved into the modern age with one of the most state-of-the-art stadiums in the country as they embrace their new 51,565-seater home, which is thought to have cost £750 million. Everton's new stadium is set to generate an extra £40 million in revenue every year, which will prove hugely beneficial for the Merseyside outfit. It was Roma, though, that secured a win there, edging out David Moyes' side thanks to a goal from Matthias Sol. The man in the dugout did see Kiernan Dewsbury Hall impress on his debut following his move from Chelsea as he cast his eye over their new arena. The Scottish manager said, "I think it does feel like home. It's going to take a bit of us getting used to it completely, but it's a great stadium and hopefully it's a chance to see some really good players and good teams in future. It's brilliant for the football club. For my journey as well, I've had lots of different twists and turns, but overall I think the football club has been so desperate for this situation to arise with the new stadium. I think it's a wonderful stadium. It's a step up, certainly, from Goodison, and I think for Everton Football Club it's a real positive step." Moyes will get the chance to lead Everton for a full season for the first time in 13 years, having returned for a second spell last term. They begin their season away at Leeds on the first Monday night of the campaign before playing Brighton to ignite their new stadium as a Premier League ground. Away from the pitch, Everton are working on a deal to sign Tyler Dibbling from Southampton, who has been a target for much of the summer, and it seems the two clubs aren't too far away in terms of valuation. The Saints left him out of their first game of the season on Saturday. Moyes is also eyeing the loan signing of Jack Grealish. The Manchester City star doesn't appear to have a future at the Etihad, for years after moving for £100 million, and a temporary deal is being discussed with his wages currently the biggest sticking point. Federico Chiesa's behavior in training sums him up as Liverpool fans make observation. Federico Chiesa continues to put in maximum effort during Liverpool training sessions despite speculation linking him with a departure from Anfield this transfer window. Supporters online have commended the Italian for his commitment and spirited attitude. The winger made the switch to Merseyside last year from Juventus for £12.5 million, representing the sole permanent senior acquisition during Arne Slot's inaugural campaign. Chiesa's maiden season in England was unfortunately hampered by fitness problems and limited playing time. Speculation has consequently intensified this summer, connecting Chiesa with a return to Italy following the arrival of new attacking reinforcements in Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike. However, following glimpses into a recent Reds training session, supporters have been swift to applaud Chiesa for his application. In footage shared on YouTube showing a Liverpool training session, Chiesa can be observed wholeheartedly taking part in sprint exercises and small-sided games with a beaming smile, which captured supporters' attention in the comments. "Federico Chiesa is the consummate professional," one comment read. "Even with his future at the club still up in the air, he is out there giving 100% effort in training with a smile on his face. I just love the guy and want the best for him whenever or wherever he plays." Another posted, "Feed needs to stay, so much to give, he's the only player really we have up front comfortable on both feet when attacking, which makes him extremely difficult to defend." In a summer of endless transfer talk, Calciomercato claims that Chiesa is keen to stay at Liverpool, but only if he's promised substantial playing time. Should that assurance not materialize, he might look elsewhere, with Napoli, AS Roma, AC Milan, Juventus, Atlanta, Como and Atletico Madrid all reportedly circling. However, manager Slot may have dropped a hint that the Italian is likely to remain at Anfield this transfer window, as he made a point of mentioning Chiesa when discussing his attacking arsenal, reports the Liverpool Echo. "I think we have a lot of attacking power in our team," Slot declared during his pre-Community Shield press conference. "When I think about Cody Gakpo, Federico Chiesa, Hugo Ekitike, and Mo Salah, Jeremy Frimpong who can play as a right winger, Florian Wirtz who can play as a left winger, I already feel I have a lot of attacking options in my current squad. But as always as a club, we are always looking at the chances in the market, but that can also be in the midfield or the last line." When pressed directly about Chiesa's future back in May, following the Italian's solitary league start under his stewardship last season, Slot was adamant the player has a place at Anfield. "Does he have a future here?" "Yes, definitely he has, yes," Slot stated. "Definitely. I think everyone playing for us over here has a future over here. Next season, if he comes back completely fit, which he has hardly been for the first half season, but then afterwards he became fitter and fitter. The next steps should have been playing time, which I couldn't give him. But I can give him playing time in preseason, so he can build himself up and then go even further." Wrexham line up Liverpool record breaker and ambitious transfer after opening day heartbreak. Wrexham are hoping to continue their ambitious summer transfer window by signing Jack Robinson from Sheffield United. Phil Parkinson's side have already brought in a number of high-profile new players after reaching the Championship, but still want more additions. The Welsh side began their campaign in the second tier with a 2-1 defeat by Southampton on Saturday. Wrexham took the lead through Josh Windass' penalty, but were stunned by two late goals from Ryan Manning and Jack Stevens after missing chances to put the game to bed. There were some promising performances from new faces, but it is clear that Parkinson still believes Wrexham are short of quality. Robinson is a hugely experienced defender, having spent most of his career playing in the Championship for QPR, Nottingham Forest, Huddersfield and Sheffield United. The 31-year-old, who began his career at Liverpool and became the youngest player to play for the club when he debuted at age 16 in 2010, is keen to join Wrexham. According to The Sun, negotiations were reportedly at an advanced stage last week but stalled after the Blades sold fellow centre-back Anil Ahmedhodzic to Feyenoord. It remains to be seen whether United will sanction the sale of the defender, who has made 159 appearances for the club since joining from Forest in 2020. Robinson came off the bench and wore the captain's armband in their 4-1 thumping by Bristol City in their opening championship match of the season on Saturday. Wrexham have invested heavily since achieving promotion from League One, signing a number of proven championship performers. Goalkeeper Danny Ward, defenders Lee Barado-Kakes and Connor Cody, midfielders George Thomason and Lewis O'Brien and forwards Ryan Hardy, Kiefer Moore and Windass have all joined so far. They have been pushing to sign Ipswich winger Nathan Broadhead in recent weeks, but the Welsh international has not yet made the move. Speaking ahead of the trip to St. Mary's, Parkinson said, "I honestly don't know anything today, whether there's been any developments. He's Ipswich Town's player. Until I'm told different, that's the way it'll stay." Speaking more generally about transfers, the Wrexham boss added, "There's a number of deals we're looking into at the moment, so I think it's a bit unfair going into the season to comment on other teams' players who are under contract. But there's several opportunities we're looking at and hopefully can make the right calls to continue improving what we've got." Parkinson fielded 6 debutants against Southampton in the form of Ward, Kakes, Cody, O'Brien, Moore and Windass, while Hardy came off the bench. "I think when we reflect, it's a very proud day for the club playing at this level, and there was a lot of positives for us," he said. "The new lads came in and have done really well, but the existing players as well. I thought they were really good. That gives us great heart for the season ahead. Thank you for watching. Like and comment. Subscribe.